I love it. This is amazing and humbling and all of these fun things. Listen, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to recap all of the things that I've learned over the last 11 months. And I want to just share that with all of you because when you stop and think about it, I think when you learn and grow, it is a conscious and intentional pursuit to say, I am going to get better. And so I'm grateful that Luis is on the call. I don't know if Fonzie's going to make it, Pablo's on the call, but I'm blaming these guys as the reason why I started this show because they had me on their podcast. And I was like, man, this is so cool. You get to talk to really smart people. You get to share your insights. And I don't know about y'all if you've ever been actually on a podcast or interviewed, but we can have all these amazing ideas in our head and trying to get it to get like to your lips and off your tongue into the world. Sometimes you say, what the heck was I trying to say? This is insane. And so this is a labor of love and certainly trying to take a craftsman mentality to it. And so Luis, Pablo, Fonzie, thank you for setting me off on this journey. I think it is single-handedly the best way to market yourself in 2022, certainly 2023. And as we go forward, the opportunity to share your point of view and to shorten the know, like, and trust curve that we all go through in job interviews or relationships or partnerships, whatever it might be. And so I want to share with you this journey. So we started this show on February 17th, and I really had this whole idea, and I'm grateful for Alex Sanfilippo who sent me down this path, but it was the whole notion that you need to have this fictional avatar. Who is it that you're speaking to? Because you can't speak to everyone. You have to talk to one person. And so I always had in my mind that it was this guy, his name was CEO Charlie. And CEO Charlie, he really wanted to become a better leader and create that compelling company, but he wasn't quite there yet. He ran a $5 million business, was good, but he had been this high performer in corporate America. And so he really felt stuck. He wasn't really proud of the business that he was running. And so I always imagine if we're inviting guests on, what is it that you're going to teach CEO Charlie so that CEO Charlie can lead a more fulfilled life where he's happy with the business that he's running, but he's also thrilled with the personal relationships that he's building for himself, with his family, his health, all of those things. So that's the guy that I'm thinking about every time that I invite someone on the show. What are you going to teach CEO Charlie? And so I'm going to share with you what I think CEO Charlie has learned so far this year and what we're going to try and tee up for 2023 as we continue to help CEO Charlie on his journey. So, my mission is to positively impact 5 million people over the next 5 years through better business. And I say this all the time. No one has ever, not anyone that I've met, has shown up to work and said, you know what, I really want to suck today. And yet there are plenty of people that are so ineffective in their work, and it's not their fault. That's what I have discovered over the course of 25 years of leading companies and now advising more than 100 companies, is it's the leader's fault. And we get in people's way instead of like getting out of their way and creating clarity and the guardrails and the support that they need. And so that's really what we're going to try and do. And so one of the things that I'd like to challenge you on in 2023 as we head out there is every week since February 17th, almost every week, I have had someone on the show, and it was the smartest person that I could find. And I got to talk to them for an hour and talk about ideas and things that they had learned, because when I can learn from others, then I don't have to learn from my own mistakes. I can learn from their mistakes. And I think that's pretty cool. It's a way to shortcut the lessons for yourself. And so in 2023, I want you to really be conscious about leveling up your skills. Where are the gaps that you have, and what are the skills that you need to develop? And so if you can do those things, I promise you, but that by the end of 2023, your ability to achieve the goals that you want to pursue will certainly be more accessible to you. And so I'm super humbled and grateful. Nate Yang is on the phone. Bill Holmes, super fan Bill Holmes. He's in the middle of putting a warehouse together. He still stopped his day to come join with us. Look at this. They have this amazing new warehouse that they're building. It's incredible. And so I'm so happy that he's here. Luis is here. Pablo, who is the producer, my lifeline, my life savior when it comes to the show. Ashley Cribbs is tuning in from the car. Jonathan Rice, you guys are amazing. And so thank you so much. Kurt Thomas just showed up. He's eating. So it must be a late lunch for Kurt Thomas. Listen, here are fun things because I always love statistics. I grew up being a baseball nerd, and by the number, 38 total episodes we did in 2022, 28 guests. One of the things that I don't always share with you because my family likes to travel is how many different places I came and did a live show. So I did it in Rincon, Puerto Rico, Nashville, Tennessee, Dale Hollow, Kentucky. Literally got rushed from the middle of the lake on a boat to go do it at the back end of a houseboat, this giant 80-foot houseboat. And I interviewed Robin Dreek from their Pigeon Forge. We literally pulled up to an Airbnb at 3:28 and we couldn't get the door unlocked. And so I was planning on doing the episode live from the car. And suddenly someone was able to get the door open and I ran downstairs and interviewed Alex Sanfilippo. And he was a great guest. That was super fun. Malia was there in Pigeon Forge with us, super fun. I did it in Orlando, Florida. I did it from St. Kitts when I went to go marry my friend, Jessica Tharp, and her husband, now Chris. I did it from the Blue Ridge Mountains. And today I'm in Miami Beach because we had to get our kids' passports renewed. And good news, we're going to the Bahamas on Saturday because we got their passports. So it is a super fun time, but sometimes it's not always what it looks, which is why I have this background up behind me so that I can't ever show you exactly where I'm at, which is super fun. Anyway, I think as I look at all of the lessons that I learned this year, I think it really solidified for me the requirement of companies to use frameworks, because frameworks create repeatable, scalable, and predictable results. Let me say that again, repeatable, scalable, predictable results. It's one thing to have a one-off success. Man, I got lucky on that. But when you can do it again and again and again and again and again, that's when you know you might be onto something. And so one of the things that I have been bolstered on, I have two frameworks that I think about. It's the 9 principles of personal performance and the business acceleration model. And so as I listened to all of these amazing people that we had on, I became more and more bullish of the frameworks that I have generated to live a great quality life or to build a great quality business. And I don't know if they're right. All I can tell you is they have been right for me. And I think it's worked out pretty well for the companies that I've been involved with. I'm looking at some of them and I know that they've had record years this year. And so that is not by accident when you bring conscious intention to everything that you do. So what I did was I just tried to break a handful of the lessons learned into some themes because I couldn't break down all of the amazing things that I learned this year. But here are the things that I thought were really important. Comes back to the foundation of every business and every great life, which is your vision and your values. What mission are you on? What's the impact that you want to make? And what are your values? What's the operating system? Because if we do it and we do it at the expense of other people, it doesn't feel really good to do that. And so what I found that is that a lot of times people blow like a leaf through the wind and then they get disillusioned by their work and they don't know why they're not getting what they want out of life. And you ask them, well, like, what's the mission that you're on? What are you trying to achieve? And they kind of sheepishly shrug their shoulders. And of course, you're not going to get what you want if you haven't taken the time to say, that's my North Star. That's where I'm driving to, right? And one of the things that I've learned in that as well is if you don't have that North Star, if you aren't really committed to your why, then it's easy to give up. It's easy to not be gritty. It's easy to not be resilient. It's easy to just say, well, it's just not that important. And so I think about guests like Nathan Adams. So Nathan Adams, great developer out in Denver. He's had a bunch of success. But it wasn't until he grabbed onto this concept that he was going to build a greener Colorado that he started to create an environment and a culture around his business that not only got people excited and involved in his business, he had investors come in because they said, yeah, that's the business that I want to be involved in. He had people in his historically low, employment rates. They were saying, yeah, I want to leave my job because I want to build a greener Colorado too. So when you give people that handle to jump onto, it's way easier to create that compelling company. And if you don't, then you're just another Me Too business. And so you have to do that work. I mean, I think about Brad Whitchurch, who runs Seal Shield, right? They're on a mission to end infection related deaths inside hospitals. I don't know about you guys, but that's something that I would get inspired by. And especially as you come through COVID. And so when you start to think about these things, it's like, is my business worth someone coming and latching on to my business? Am I worthy as a leader of your time, energy, and effort? I think we have to ask those real hard questions of ourselves as we head into 2023. I think about Matt Foxhall, one of the most inspiring, vision-driven leaders I've ever personally met, out to transform an industry, right? And I just say, it's no accident that these people have experienced a lot of success, right? Jay Wilkinson, I love Jay Wilkinson's interview. I mean, that's a guy that took in venture capital, got kicked out of his own company by the VCs. He went and bought his own company back. And even in hard times, his people, guess what they did? They said, yeah, you don't have to pay me right now. I only need 50%. You just accrue that and you pay me back when you can. And so as I think about like the lesson for 2022 and CEO Charlie, it's an imperative. It can't be just like that thing that you have on the wall that's the vision and the values, but no one really pays attention to it. No one knows what it is. No one can recite it. It's got to be something that's lived day in and day out. And so, if I'm coaching CEO Charlie, I'm telling CEO Charlie, we have to have an exciting and challenging vision statement because it's used to transform companies, literally the foundation of every great company that I've been around. And so you need to make sure that when you look at your values, you have to tell stories like Brad Whitchurch. I get choked up on this show a handful of times. Brad Whitchurch got choked up when he said, we had a bump in the road. And you know what people did? They stepped forward and they said, Brad, we're with you. We believe in the mission. We're going to forego our salaries. I mean, when people believe in you that much, that's when you know you're onto something. Jay Wilkinson, same thing, right? What are those stories that people are telling? Because those are the true values of the company. When you're not in the room, what are people saying about you and the company that you run? And if you're not helping foster those stories, then you're missing the mark as a leader. And so that's the piece that we need to double down on. And it's not just for our companies, it's for our leaders too, right? Sometimes we pour so much into our companies that we leave nothing in the tank for ourselves. And that's a mistake. I've shared this story before that, I ran a high growth company that went from 5.9 million to 15 million in 18 months, made the franchise 500. And 3 different times I had a $5 million check sitting on the table. I found myself sleeping on the couch outside of my office. I had regular 100-hour work weeks until I thought I was having a heart attack on Valentine's Day. And so it's super critical that if the cost that we give up is greater than the price we get back, then it doesn't make sense. The cost that I was paying in my health wasn't worth like all the ego and adulation as a 26-year-old. I think to myself, we have to be super conscious and super intentional. What is your vision for your life? Because what I have found is when those things are out of balance, the price and the cost, you're going to start resenting your business. You know who else will resent it? Your kids who you don't get to see at night, and your spouse who says, who am I married to? Sure, we have all this outward success. However, I don't get to really enjoy it. And so get real clear. Your life on your terms. If you can do that, I know we're going to be winning. I know we're going to be winning. Fonzie showed up. Fonzie, I gave you all these adulations earlier, and you weren't even here to receive them. But I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for your inspiration and getting me started on this journey. I appreciate the heck out of you. Second thing that I noticed, I think, people say this all the time. Business is all about people, right? Until it's not. And so when I think about what does that mean? Business is all about people. Again, it's coming back to, are you that leader worth following? Because I think sometimes we ask more of our people than we ask of ourselves as a leader. Am I pouring more into my people? Am I using that real servant leadership to put these people into places of success? And that has to be our mindset. I come back to, Meg Newhouse. They won multiple awards about remote work and trusted their people. And she said, think about this. If you're hiring people and you can't trust them to do their work, whether they're physically in the same location as you, or they're at their home or they're traveling, then what kind of business do you have? I thought that was a great point. If we don't have trust, then what's it all about? Robin Dree came on the show. He talked to us about the same thing, how we build trust, how trust comes back and forth for people. Because we want trust inside the organization, but what are we doing specifically to build it? Again, I'm going to come back to conscious intention. You'll get bored of hearing me say it. But if you don't clearly define how you're going to show up for your people, then I guarantee you're going to confuse the heck out of them. I think about Megan Bowen. She said one of the most, introspective things, or things that made me get really introspective. And it was the notion of psychological safety for our people. Do our people feel safe showing up authentically as themselves day in and day out? And I hadn't ever heard it said that way. My first value is love your people, treat them as whole people, right? So I'm always trying to do that. But I have met plenty of leaders along the way that do not create psychological safety. You're only on their team if you're doing what they want in the way that they want you to do it. And the minute that you step out of line and you don't have that ability to vent, to have a conversation, then you have a problem. And I think, we need to be mindful of that as leaders. I come back to, some of these great leaders, Jay Wilkinson, Lindsay Johnson, Brad Richards, Foxhall, Megan Bowen, Trey Taylor. One of the only three things that a CEO needs to be focused on is people, cultivating the people. Because when you get the right people in the right seats, guess what happens? Magic happens. And you get the other foundational element, the vision and values, the clarity around where we're going and how we're going to get there. It's way easier because you just get out of the way. And I think it's one of the things that I think about here is what's the coaching for CEO Charlie? It's that we have to leverage the vision and the values that we're creating to improve the hiring process so that we can invite the best people on the mission with us. Don't accept the 6s and 7s inside your organization. Let your competitors be the lazy 6 and 7 employers. We're the people that stay steeled and concentrated and focused. I was just on office hours. Captain Rick Hoffman, commander of a ship, a super successful Navy captain, he was saying, I'd rather be at 90% capacity fill rate in my employment than hire the wrong person. Commander of ships in the Navy, post 9/11, right? We get super focused. I'd rather be shorthanded than have the wrong person. I think that's true inside our organization. And then we just have to keep on repeating this, right? I call it the 4 C's. How do we create that compelling organization, the 4 C's? Clarity. Do people know how they win day in and day out? Are they clear on the expectations? The second one is, are they challenged by their work? And by the way, they can't be overwhelmed. The challenge is way greater than them. It has to be the right next step on their career path. We have to be comfortable that they have the tools, time, and training to be successful. The worst thing that we can do is put people in situations where they don't know how to win. They don't have the tools, the time, the training. They look up and go like, Jay Rice, man, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I know I'm supposed to do something, so I'm going to look busy, act busy, but I'm not really sure, which is why I come back to 2023. We should all be thinking about mindset and skill development. If you're thinking about anything else, I think you're missing the mark. We got to be leveling up our skills for sure. And so the last piece of that is care. And it comes back to our leadership style. Do you give a shit about your people? Because by the way, if you don't, that's okay. But you need to hand the people in your care over to someone who does care. And go be an individual contributor. That's awesome. You can go kill it. Don't let people get in your way, because if you think people are a nuisance, then you shouldn't be leading them. And so just keep on thinking about the 4 C's. If you want to create that compelling company in 2023, clarity of how people win, challenged by the work, comfortable that they have the tools, time, and training, and that you give a shit about them. Those people will hang in there forever. All right. So here's the thing that I think leaders mess up the most on. I think leaders mess up the most when it comes to communication. In general, what happens as leaders, we have more information than everyone else. Guess what we forget to do? We forget to share it. We forget to give the gift of information to our people. We forget to say, hey, the expectation is for you to show up at 8:30, not 9:05. People will adhere to the rules of the game, generally, or you might have the wrong person in your game. But generally speaking, people adhere to the rules of the game. We just do a terrible job of giving them the rules of the game, right? So Katie McLaughlin talked about this conscious intention in our leadership, right? How are we showing up for our people? I think this is really important. I think if you've gone through my leadership gap course, I talk about this. The role of the leader is to create a predictable environment where our people can make agile, autonomous, and engaged decisions that help the company win. Get out of your people's way. The only way they can make agile, autonomous, and engaged decisions if we tell them where we're going. If we don't have objectives, we don't have goals, we don't have a vision and a North Star of like, here's the direction we're going, then there's no way we can win. And without clarity, there can be no accountability, right? So don't expect that people are mind readers. I was in a strategic plan earlier this week, and the CFO and the CEO got into a small tussle. And the CFO said, I'm sorry, I don't know how to read your mind. I thought it was great, right? But that is such a good indication of a healthy cultural environment, the ability for people to challenge one another. So Tom Brannis spoke about this. I loved having Tom. He spoke about the ability to have transparency. That scares the bejesus out of most leaders, to be super transparent and also to raise your hand and say, I'm not sure. Because one of the things that happens, we get promoted through an organization and we've gotten rewarded for being able to do the doing. And then suddenly we don't know the answer. We feel that imposter syndrome. So what do? We make it up. Guess what? Everyone knows you're full of shit. Everyone knows that you don't know the answer. The best thing you can do is say, I'm not sure. Jay Rice, that's an amazing question. I'm not sure. But let's think about this. And when you get that transparency, you have the ability to have authenticity in your conversations, right? And I talked about this, positive constructive conflict. It comes back to, the strategic plan I was doing earlier this week. Healthy conflict should exist in businesses. You shouldn't agree on everything. It's unhealthy to agree on everything. Most times it's not that people agree on everything. It's that they are unwilling to have conflict in the names of the pursuit of the goal. And so when we can have that healthy conflict inside, we can communicate better to all of our people on the outside. I mean, Park Howe was in, he shared with us the ABT statement. How do you get people engaged and compelled? We use it in all of our show descriptions. And the thing that people want, that's the connector of the thing that people want, but create tension. Ooh, tell me what's next. Therefore, resolution. I find that leaders generally are poor storytellers. And so if you want to become a better storyteller, I'd recommend you get Park Howe's book, The Narrative Gym for Business. It's about an 80-page read. It was amazing. Even Craig Besky was able to read that one. It took him 3 days, but he was able to get through it. And I can say that because that's one of my best friends for 30 plus years. One of the other things that, you look at is Kim Bach was here. How do you level up your organization? We create healthy and copious amounts of feedback from one another. Could you imagine going to work every single day and not knowing if you were doing a good job? And to be surprised at a quarterly review to say, oh, Fonzie, I'm really sorry, but you really haven't been doing a good job. You haven't been meeting our expectations for the last 3 months. And you're like, what? Why didn't you tell me? Right? So how do we create those virtuous cycles of courageous feedback? The answer is, it always has to start with us as the leader. Here's the story I'm telling myself. Here's my hallucination. Here's my fear that I'm going to give you this feedback and you might freak out, right? So it starts with us. We give ourselves feedback as we do that. And, when we have a lack of communication, we have a lack of clarity. I call it the leadership quicksand. Tell me if this meets up with anything that you've ever seen or experienced, right? One day something is okay. And the next day the leader walks in and they've completely changed their mind. And what was good yesterday is no longer any good. And you're like, what? Wait a second. Yesterday was cool that we were doing it that way. And so now I'm confused. Now I'm like a deer in headlights. Like, what? Okay. And then like the third day they come in and like the second thing that was supposed to happen, now there's a third thing. Now you're like, what? Now I'm totally frustrated. I have no idea exactly what it is that I'm supposed to do. I don't trust this person. How could I possibly trust this person? Because they don't even know what they're doing. And that lack of trust breaks down the relationship and leads to a lack of performance. And it all starts with us. It's not their fault. It's our fault. And so if we can be really clear, starts with clarity and communication. Without clarity, there can be no accountability. And if you want to drive performance, you have to have accountability. It takes good companies and makes them great companies and makes them unstoppable. So I don't know that I'm a great leader of people. Some of these things have worked out that I've done. I would tell you, I build accountability inside organizations. And that's like the secret sauce. It's not a plus sign. That one's might be an exponent. It's certainly a multiplier. And so if you can get accountability right, it's super important. So what would I coach CEO Charlie on? Here's what I would tell CEO Charlie. Make sure that we have psychological safety by making sure that we clearly articulate the rules of the game. And those should stem from our vision and our values and our objectives, our VVOs, right? And so the other piece of this is, CEO Charlie's never done any strategic planning. I don't know about your company. We're heading into 2023 in 2 weeks. If you don't have a plan, get ready to be disappointed by your results. I promise you that. So CEO Charlie, he's going to do a strategic plan for the first time this year. And he recognizes that when we're communicating, it goes better. And so he's going to the whole company once a month. And he's going to meet with his leadership team every week, because that's going to create alignment for everyone. And that's going to cascade all the way through CEO Charlie's company. Sometimes meetings get a bad rap, but if you want to have alignment throughout the organization, depending on the size of your organization, it's a necessary evil to communicate. You just hope that people would just do what they're supposed to do. I'm going to tell you a secret. People don't always do what they're supposed to do, no matter how good you are at hiring. Raise your hand if you've ever missed on a hire. Let me put 2 hands up because I've missed a gazillion times, right? It's just the nature of how it goes. And as I was preparing for this show, I don't think I've said anyone else's name more than this name that I'm going to say again. It's my former COO, Zach Mitchell, because I have such respect for him. And he always said to me, he said, we know we're winning when people are talking. When people are talking across your organization and we've closed those communication gaps, that's when we know we're winning. That's when we know there's not slippage. That's when we know we have engagement and culture is good. Because I don't talk to people that I don't like. That's the reality of it. And so we have created that alignment and we're ready to go bust the doors off and we get people really rolling. The last one that I'm going to give you, mindset is everything. Mindset is everything. When I say the 2 things you should be thinking about for 2023, skill development, right? I know I'm working on my skills because here's my mission. Positively impact 5 million people over the next 5 years through better business. My skills do not match my ambition. Guilty as charged. I want to know if your skills match your ambition. I want to know if you even have an ambition to go chase. And if you don't, get real clear on that, because it's way cooler in life when you're chasing something and there's a scoreboard to look up at. Jay Rice played at Alabama. You like looking up at the scoreboard, didn't you, Jay Rice? A lot of W's while you were there.
Yeah, from the sideline, I had a really good view at the scoreboard.
Someone's got to make the other players better. I love it. So mindset's everything, right? And what I've learned is the difference between the people who are the wannabes to the people who are the R's. Right? As I was laughing with Ryan Dement, who I said on his podcast, a quote that I stole from Austin Kleon. People want to be the noun without doing the verb. People want to be the noun without doing the verb. Just stop and think about that. It's like you don't want to do the work, but you want to be known as the person who is amazing at that. So that the foundational element that I see personally is the people who doer, not doer. They take action differently, right? Most successful people I know take action differently. Secondly, the difference between the high achievers and the highest achievers, because that's all the people that I get to see, is mindset, is positive mindsets. It's not that bad shit doesn't happen to them. It's that their ability to get back to center, to stay on course with their vision, their values, achieving their objectives, to go do the work, is to recognize, shit, that sucks. Okay, what do I have to do to get back to center to go achieve my goals? Because when your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions aren't serving you, you're the only person that can change them. So go do that. Right? We had Derek McManus, Aussie Special Forces guy. He got shot 14 times in 5 seconds and lived. They couldn't rescue him for 3 hours. And he talked about being in control of yourself, which means being in control of your mind. The doctors said there is no reason that he should be alive because the amount of blood that they had to put back in him meant he had no blood in him. But that sink in. Shot 14 times and they couldn't rescue him for 3 hours. Pretty powerful. Timmy Gallagher, my personal coach, amazing guy, multiple time Ironman finisher. Talk about the morning routine. We got to prime the pump. We got to get ourselves ready to go. If you have to be to the office by 8 o'clock and you're getting up at 7:45, throwing on whatever you can wear and not eating breakfast and not priming the pump, I guarantee you the results that you're going to get are not going to be there. And so go through your morning routine, right? Read, write, think, meditate, pray, do some exercise, make the morning work for you. You'll be amazed at what happens when you turn the corner. Right? Scott White, The Life is Too Short guy. His book is coming out in January. We're so proud of him. But life's short. Take decisive action. Another thing I learned from him. And I just come back to like mindset is everything. So as we look out on 2023, nothing's certain. So stay humble and hungry as we head into 2023. I'm expecting some noise. I could be wrong. I've been predicting that since 2019. I think when you say something enough times for long enough, eventually it comes true. But when you expect it, it isn't as detrimental to your mindset because you're steeled for it. You know it's going to be hard. So you have to do the work to ensure that you cultivate the bulletproof mind. And this means that you have conscious intention, not only for yourself, but for your business. Here's the place where I need to level up in 2023. You know what I'm not very good at? I'm great at helping people. I am not very good at asking for help. And so I'm going to work on that skill. So one of my friends said, you do realize that if you're going to positively impact 5 million people over the next 5 years, you can't do that one alone. I was like, shit, you know what? You're right. I can't do that one alone. And so I'm asking for your help because I need to enroll you in the mission. If you believe that as leaders, it's our responsibility to help create compelling companies, then I want you here. I want you to listen to the podcast if you can't make it. I want you to like the posts that we have out there. I want you to share the posts that we have. I want you to subscribe to the podcast. We have taken all the micro content, all the best snippets from every interview that we did, and we've cataloged it on YouTube by thematic topic, communication, conflict resolution. And I'm just telling you right now, There's so much wisdom in there. So we're going to take the 60 minutes a week and we're going to dump it down to about 10 minutes for you that you can take those, as Fonzie likes to call them, golden boulders of knowledge. And so I'd encourage you to go subscribe to the YouTube channel. But, here's my point. The fact that you stopped your life to come be a part of mine because I had this harebrained idea, I am so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that you are here as part of the community to learn and grow and share your own experience, because sometimes people don't share their questions here. I get them after the fact, which is fine with me, whatever people are comfortable with. But if there is someone that you know that's driven by this same belief system, then I want you to send them a text and say, you know what? The next show is January 5th. Mark it on your calendar, because my experience is leaders need about 2 weeks to block shit off their calendar. And so invite people, have people come out, because I promise you, we're going to protect their time and make sure that we give them some value. And so that's my ask of you. I'm going to get better at doing that. I promise, because we're going to go do this. And I'm so grateful for your help. One of the things that I always do say is we are better together. 49 Financial, I stole that from them. We're better together. And so I'm grateful for Maria, who's my assistant, my trusty assistant, who gets us set up and keeps us on track every week. I'm grateful for Be the Stage. We wouldn't be able to do this without, the production support that they give us. That their team is amazing. Rita, Roanne, Gina, Pablo, those guys are awesome. And obviously my family. Why do we go do these things? Why do we have these harebrained pursuits? It's to make the world a better place. I have 2 young kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. My goal is to leave the world a better place for them. But that means that today, while I'm in Miami Beach, they're sitting by the pool waiting for me to finish. And so the grace that they show me to give me some time and some latitude to do things like this, I'm ever grateful for. So I'm grateful for you too. Listen, we're going to be off for 2 weeks. Next week, I'm in the Bahamas. Week after that, I'm spending time with my family. So we're back January 5th with J.M. Ryerson. I just spoke with him. He's the author of Let's Go Win. He is a mindset maniac, and he is exactly the right guy to kick off 2023 with. I think there are going to be tons of golden boulders. I'm stealing that, Fonzie. Tons of golden boulders that he's going to throw our way. And I'm happy if anyone has any questions, you can take yourself off mute. I know I just spoke right at you for 45 minutes, but I was excited. It has been a fun year to be on this journey. And man, I can't even tell you how much I have learned from all of these people. Go ahead, Fonzie.
I just wanted to say thank you to you, Jerry. We're grateful to have you and share your wisdom, the golden boulders with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Fonzie. I don't know if they're my wisdoms or I just get to regurgitate other people, but someone once told me never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So I'll take credit for it. I love it. All right, friends. Thank you so much for being here. Ashley, please drive safely. It's great to see you. Great to see everyone. Bill, good luck with the factory. Appreciate you tuning in. And all the rest of you, have a great holiday season, and we'll see you again in 2023.